Knitting a simple cable is a lot easier than it looks. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a simple cable with a few tools. The first thing that we'll need is, of course, a pattern to follow. This one is my classic cable scarf. You can find the pattern on my Etsy. The next thing that you'll need is some sort of cable needle. I use a double-pointed needle. You can also use a circular needle or specifically a cable needle for this. So the first thing that we'll do is we're going to follow our pattern. My pattern has me do some seed stitch on the side, and then I follow that with a few stitches of purling, and then we get to the cabled section. My cabled section is ribbed, so it might look a little bit different than yours, but this will be easy enough to follow along. Once you reach the cable section of your pattern, it'll tell you to slip a certain number of stitches onto your cable needle. This pattern calls for 8 stitches to be moved, so I'm moving 8 stitches onto this double pointed needle, and then my pattern calls for it to hold in front. If it were to tell you to hold it in back, you just put the cable needle behind your work and then continue knitting from your left needle. But again, for this one, I'm going to be holding it in front. So I'm holding that in front, and then I'm going to knit the first stitch off of my left needle as the pattern says. But when I do this, I want to make sure that I pull the working yarn tight so that I try and prevent any particular gaps. Then I'll continue following the pattern, which is knit 1, purl 1 for 8 stitches until I get to the part where I need to knit off the cable needle. Now, when I'm going to knit off the cable needle, this is why I like to use a double pointed needle or a circular needle, because you don't have to move the stitches back onto your left needle. You could certainly do that. If you're using a normal cable needle, you may need to slip all of your stitches back to your left needle in order to be able to continue knitting. So since I'm knitting off of these double pointed needles, I'm going to knit my next 8 stitches following the pattern, knit 1, purl 1, from my cable needle onto my right needle. Then once I reach the end of that, I'll set my cable needle aside and then follow the rest of the row from my left needle as normal. Now your next row that you knit might be a little bit tighter or a little bit funky on your tension, but don't worry. Once you get a few rows past that actual cable row, you'll see how it turns out, and I promise that it will look beautiful for you. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to leave a comment, send me a DM on Instagram, or even an email. I'm happy to help. I hope this shows you a little bit more about cabling. Again, if you're looking for a specific pattern for this, this is my classic cable knit pattern. It makes a beautiful long scarf and uses this exact method. You can find it on my Etsy. Otherwise, let me know what you're knitting, and I'm here to cheer you on.